what I love about your story, Cindy, is that your career change wasn't necessarily driven because you were tired of what you were doing. What was the catalyst for your career change?
I was starting to get heart palpitations. I was having a lot of anxiety, and a host of other things were going on. They ran every test that you could possibly imagine running. And I had a new doctor, and I wanted to talk to her about was menopause symptoms. When I told her that, she asked how long it had been since I'd had my last period, and it had been 18 months. And she said to me, and I quote, "It's too late for you, and we're going to put you on some antidepressants." And I was so upset. I still get upset when I think about it. And then I started thinking, this is menopause. This has to be menopause. I need to find someone to help me. I'm here to fight for women and to fight for the women of the future to make sure that it's better for them.
Hi there. This is Her Intentional Reset, a podcast for women in midlife curious about whether the career they chose 20 years ago still fits. Hear from women who've made pivots big and small, discuss the practical realities, the trade-offs, and whether the change was worth it. I'm your host, Molly Whipperford, and I want to thank you for joining. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you found us. And in between episodes, come join us on Instagram and Facebook at herintentionalreset.co, that's .co, for guests behind the scenes and what's coming next. Meet Cindy Ravn. Cindy is a registered nurse and public health nurse providing reproductive and sexual health care at Planned Parenthood, while also owning a nurse-led medical aesthetics practice. With more than 35 years of experience in skincare and wellness, Cindy returned to school in her 50s to become a nurse after seeing how often women navigating perimenopause and menopause felt dismissed. Today, Cindy is passionate about helping women advocate for themselves, understand their changing bodies, and embrace healthy age through evidence-based care, education, and compassion. When Cindy's not working, you will find her running, reading, or spending time with her husband, friends, and dogs, or traveling back to Northern California to spend time with her family. I'm so excited to have Cindy on the show today. This is Her Intentional Reset. Hi, Cindy. It's so great to have you on today.
Hi, Molly. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, me too. Before we get into your career change, you spent 35 years in the skincare and beauty industry, and you're still in it currently. How did you get into being an esthetician, and what kept you there for so long? What did you enjoy about it?
The reason that I became an esthetician was, back in the 90s when everyone was making our eyebrows really skinny. And there was a gal in town that would cancel on me a lot. And I remember thinking, well, if she can make money doing this, I can make money doing this. And I always liked skin and the beauty industry and fashion. But what really got me into school to become an esthetician is I wanted to open a skincare boutique, and I had it all mapped out. The name was Trixie's Beauty Bar and Apothecary. Trixie was the personality when I drank tequila. So that was the feel that I wanted to have there. And I knew I wanted to have people there that could do waxing services or skincare
Mhm.
services. And I thought the smartest thing to do was to become an esthetician myself so I would understand more of what the people that I was going to hire had, like what their background was. And then at some point in school, my sister called and asked me how it was going. And I remember, and this is a quote, I said to her, I feel like I was born to do this. Like it was the first
Oh,
move in my life that made absolute sense. And from there, I just decided I want to be the esthetician. And
yeah.
I didn't want to do the business. I wanted to learn how to be an esthetician. And so I did. I jumped in, I graduated, I went to work for somebody. And then shortly thereafter, I had made a connection with a woman who was a sales rep for Peter Thomas Roth, which at the time was not a huge line. And then she jumped and went to a really teeny tiny boutique line from India. She asked me to come and work for her as an
Mhm.
educator. And so I
Oh,
left the treatment room. I traveled around the country. I helped open resorts like big spas and resorts,
Yep.
and most of it was happening on the East Coast. And I did that for a while, and then I wanted to get back in the treatment room, and so I went back
Mhm.
in, and I left and went in to say I've done a lot of things. So, but I say that knowing that I jokingly say I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life
Uh-huh.
until I was in my 40s. And that's when I
Yep.
fully embraced being an esthetician. I opened my practice here and
Yep.
really changed the way that I did things.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about the practice that you still have and that you built up
Yeah.
in Minnesota. Mhm.
I love it. It's the best thing in the whole world. If anybody wants to be an esthetician, I'd love to talk you into it because I think it's the greatest job. I was one of the very first people that had a new device on the market called hydrofacial, which now is
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Mhm.
And when we moved back to Minnesota, I didn't have any clients here, but I knew I didn't want to work for somebody. I wanted to work on my own. And I know I am a hard worker and I'm a really great networker. And I was trying to decide between going to work somewhere for somebody and share space or get my own space. And I opened up one of those things and it said jump and the net will appear. And I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting my own space. I found a place in
Yep.
Prairie. And I did. I jumped and I went on a really aggressive referral campaign. So used to give people, if they referred two people to me, I gave them their next service free. And I had one really amazing client who, every time she left my space, three people would call me.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was great, and I worked really hard. I always had this thought, like, you have to make hay when the sun shines, so
Yep.
I worked really hard. I worked a lot of hours. Even if I wasn't open, like seeing clients, I was still working. You have to do everything. And then it transitioned when I started going through menopause, I transitioned into menopause skincare and I have learned so much about it. And so most of my clients, most of them, not all of them, are around my age. We're
Yep.
going through it together. We're sharing secrets. We talk about everything. And I didn't believe in anti aging. I used to say, if you're anti aging, you're dead. And that's not what we're going for. This was long before I became menopause specialist for skin.
Mhm.
But after that, I really embrace let's learn how to age with power and age healthy and
Yep.
let's take that into our life. So
Yes. What I love about your story, Cindy, is that your career change wasn't necessarily driven because you were tired of what you were doing. To your point, you love being an esthetician and you still have this great
yes.
thriving practice in the Twin Cities. But what's really cool about your career change story is that there was something else that was pulling at you to make that career pivot. So let's talk about what was the catalyst for your career change?
After COVID, we went back to work and I was having hot flashes. There were a couple of times I was going to have to step out because I was just sweating. I had my whole
Mhm.
full regalia and the face shield and the mask and my gloves. And it was just
Yeah.
it's a nightmare. And then after a couple of months, when I would come home, I felt like I had something stuck in my throat. I didn't know what was going on. I was starting to get heart palpitations. I was having a lot of anxiety, and a host of other things were going on. And I went to my physician, my primary care doctor. I didn't know what was going on. We talked about it. They ran every test that you could possibly imagine running. They didn't know what was wrong with me. So
Yeah.
they knew that I had reflux. That was the only thing that was like conclusive that I had. And I went on my own. I thought, well, they can't help me, so I'm going to
Mhm.
help somebody else. So I found a functional person. I was doing acupuncture. I was doing detox. I was doing like so many supplements to try and detox my body from the functional person I went to told me that I had mold in my body. So I was trying to get rid of that. I've been very healthy. I take really good care of myself. And so I just knew it wasn't me. It had to be something else. And then my mom passed away at the end of 2021. And I got very depressed and I had a new doctor. And I went to see her about my depression. And what I wanted to talk to her about was menopause symptoms because I wondered if like everything that was going on could possibly be menopause. And when I told her that, she asked how long it had been since I'd had my last period, and it had been 18 months. And she said to me, and I quote, "It's too late for you, and we're going to put you on some antidepressants." And I was so upset. It was so,
Yeah.
I still get upset when I think about it. And she told
Yeah.
me it would help with my hot flashes. And I was having at least 10 hot flashes a day and had not slept through the night because of night sweats for years. And so
Wow.
when she told me it would help with that, I was like, okay, fine, I'll take them. And it
Yeah.
didn't help. It made me actually more depressed. And I remember laying on the sofa. I felt like I had sandbags all over me. I felt like, what was the point of living? And I had found a Dr. Kelly Casperson on Instagram, and I had been following her on Instagram. And then I saw or heard on one of her reels that she had a podcast. So I was like, well, maybe I should listen to her podcast. It's called You Are Not Broken. I started listening to it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have menopause." And then she wrote a book, and
Yeah.
I ordered the book and I like devoured it. Can I say this? Anyway, I'm just gonna say
You can say whatever.
but I was like, "Did you know my clitoris has 3 parts?" And it was so real. I was like, "I'm a gamer. I should know that. It's my body. Like, why don't we know these things?" And so I
That's not
when
what
I
I was expecting you to say.
pardon me?
That was not what I was expecting you to say,
Yeah,
but it's totally fine. Yeah, it's totally fine.
okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Kelly Casperson is a urologist, a
Yes.
sex educator, a
Yes.
perimenopause and menopause educator,
Yes.
and she talks about
Yes.
all of that. So hence you
Yes.
found out, yeah, there's three
So
parts.
her book, yeah, her first book is called You Are Not
Okay.
Broken, Stop Shooting All Over Your Sex Life. And it was just empowering when I read it. And then I started thinking, this is menopause. This has to be menopause. I need to find someone to help me. So I'm like Googling, like, what do I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And in
Yeah.
Googling, I came across the menopause.org, which used to be called
Hmm.
the North American Menopause Society. Now it's just the Menopause Society. And
Hmm.
they had a little tab to click to put your zip code in, and it would populate a list of practitioners in your area that specialized in menopause. And at the time, there were not very many in the Twin Cities. And I looked every single one of them up. I found out there was only one that took my insurance.
Okay.
And I booked an appointment with her that day. It was for the next morning. When I walked in, I was like, look, I know what's going on. I need some hormones. I need vaginal estrogen cream.
Yeah.
I want the Combi patch, which is a combined estrogen progesterone patch. I know that the Women's Health Initiative study has been backtracked. They have admitted that it was flawed, that this
Hmm.
terrible scare that they gave everyone that made all these women stop taking hormones is inaccurate. And she said, I am so glad that you know this because you made my life easier. And I walked out of there with
Yeah.
and started them, and everything changed. Everything.
Wow.
And from there,
Yeah.
I thought I need to help women. I need to be part of the solution. So I thought, what can I do? And I found there were 3 programs in the world for a menopause doula, and
Hmm.
one was in Canada, one was in the UK, and one was in Australia. And I signed up to become a menopause doula through Doula Canada. And I finished that program and then thought, this is not enough. I need to help women. And I had no idea what to do. I had shoulder surgery back at the end of 2022. I was home recovering, just thinking like, what am I going to do? How can I help more women? How am I going to do this? And I don't know why I never thought to do it before, but I went on Indeed and I put menopause in the search bar, and it just was like nurse practitioner, nurse practitioner, nurse practitioner. And I literally was like, of course, because that I see a nurse practitioner. I'm just going to become a nurse practitioner. And and then so how do you become a nurse practitioner? And I said, you have to become an RN. Well, how do you become an RN? I had no idea. And then I was in. I was like, that's what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing.
Yes.
Path I'm on. It was not an easy sell to my husband, but
Yep.
that's what I did.
Yes. Well, I love the fact that you were reverse engineering basically, like how do I help more people? And that path is leading you to that nurse practitioner and that RN role. And essentially that was the catalyst for the career change, right?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
But you're still doing both. So you completed an accelerated RN bachelor's
Mhm.
program, and tell us how your skincare business made that possible.
Well, Nick and I decided that we did not want to go into debt for this. So I kept my skincare practice open, and my skincare practice, in essence, paid for my nursing school. Should say this also because one of the things that I did when because I was like, I'm going to go to nursing school, and Nick was not on board with it. So he's like, you need to talk to everybody about what is this going to be like. And actually, before I even talked to him, I took a client of mine out for coffee who had made a shift in her life when she was in her 50's. She had lost her husband, and she decided to become a therapist for other people that had lost their spouse. And so at 53, which was the same age I was when I started, went to school to become a therapist and had a 20-year career of doing it.
Wow.
And she had just retired. And so I wanted to know, how did you do it? What did you do?
Mhm.
How can I make this work? Nick wanted me to talk to a bunch of people, which I did. And
Mhm.
every single person I talked to told me it is really hard. Nursing school is really,
Mhm.
and I literally was like, "Psh, how hard could it be? Okay, it's really hard." But I kept my skincare practice open, and it really saved my mental health
Okay.
by keeping it open. It paid for my school, but keeping that connection with these amazing clients that I have and these women that have been part of my life for 10 years, they're almost like family. And so it was
Mhm.
also my social life, because I had no social life because I couldn't, because I was
Yep.
at school all the time. So my skincare practice stayed open. I worked really early in the morning sometimes. It was exhausting,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
It was really
Yep.
tiring, but it was also really invigorating. And so when I graduated, cum laude, by the way, I was very impressed with
Mhm.
myself. Um,
Yeah.
but when I graduated, I had a friend who was a nurse that asked me to join her. She was moving into a space with another nurse and another esthetician, and she asked me to come and join her. So I did. I left my beautiful, wonderful little space in Eden Prairie. It was kind of an emotional day, and I started a new journey. 2020
Yeah.
been everything's been new.
Yes, yes. Okay, so you graduated in December 2025 from
Yeah.
nursing school, and then your practice is now, tell us where your practice
Um,
is located as well
Yeah,
too.
it's in the Miracle Mile shops at Excelsior on Highway 100. So
Okay.
I have my practice in there, but I've joined Jen and Molly and Katie, and I still do my skincare stuff. I only work 1 or maybe 2 days a week, and
Okay.
I have now added Botox injections and filler, and I already did microneedling, but now we do another thing called PRP, which is plasma-rich protein, and we do those kinds of treatments for the face.
Okay, sounds good. So you closed down your practice in Eden Prairie. You transitioned to a new esthetician place in St. Louis Park. Where did you end up going after you graduated from nursing school? How did you use your degree afterwards?
So after you graduate, you do have to pass a licensure test. You wait every day to get cleared for it from your school and the state. So every day you're just checking. And when I got my email that I was okay and I was cleared to book a test date, I grabbed the first test date I could. I took it. You get 5 hours. I took 3.5 hours. It was awful. And I went away for the weekend with my book club. I found out on Monday morning that I passed, and it was very exciting. And then you just
Yeah,
start the journey of looking for a job. And I
yeah.
had been offered a job that I turned down. I was offered a job in Fargo that I seriously considered, but we couldn't make the move. And so I kind of started over. I saw a posting actually 3 times. I applied to Planned Parenthood, and on the 4th application, I got an interview and I got hired at Planned Parenthood that I started in April.
Okay. How did you decide Planned Parenthood specifically?
So I want to work in women's health. That is my
Mm-hmm.
main objective. So I want to work in women's health. This was a way for me to work in women's health. Planned Parenthood is making a lot of changes with the things that they're offering. One of the things that they're doing is they are offering menopause care, which was
Oh.
really exciting to me. And then they're also are doing some other things to offset some of the federal funding that has been lost. Some of the Planned Parenthoods back in Northern California, where I'm from, have added Botox injections
Mhm.
as a
Oh.
cash payment for $9 a unit in an area where it's usually 15 or 16. So it's significantly less expensive. And I thought that sounds fantastic. Like,
Mhm.
is like my jam. I can work with women. I can do Botox injections, hopefully, if that comes here. And I could do something also that I felt really good about working in. I also applied to get my certificate to be a public health nurse. So
Yep.
I am also that. And I thought this is a way that I can make an impact in an area that
Mhm.
I don't know that I would ever get to work with that population again. So
Yeah.
I have learned a ton in the last couple of months, just the diversity of patients that we
Yeah.
do, the type of care that we give.
I thought it was interesting when you told me at our prep meeting the amount of services that Planned Parenthood
Yes.
offers.
We're known for our birth control, and
Yeah, right.
that's
Mhm.
that's what we're known for. And we do a lot of that, but we also do like I didn't know we did IUD placements. We do
Mhm.
a lot of those, and we do primary care. We can't do everything, so we do have to send people out. But the way it works is when someone checks in, you see who they are, a very brief description like their name, their age, what
Date of
they're
birth.
there for,
Mhm.
if they've left any notes. And anytime I see someone that is 35 or older and it's a woman, I'm like, I want that one.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have things to say.
Yes, and you wanna listen, and you wanna
Yes,
hear about their signs and symptoms and help
yes,
them the way that you weren't helped previously.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. I thought it was really eye-opening just to hear that background on
Yeah.
Planned Parenthood. So, beyond Planned Parenthood, after you completed your RN degree,
Mhm.
tell us what you also are working for down the road.
Oh, yeah. So I'm still focused on becoming a nurse practitioner. So in the last
Yep.
couple weeks, I filled out my applications to graduate school. So I'm just waiting to hear back. Becoming a nurse practitioner means that you go to graduate school, you get either a master's of science in nursing or a doctorate of nurse practitioner. And currently, I don't think I have the energy to go back to get a doctorate, although I really like the idea of someone calling me Dr. Cindy. I just don't think I have it. I just don't think I have it.
Yeah.
Not at this age. My goal is to become a women's health nurse practitioner, which is a
Yeah.
master's degree in women's health, master's degree nurse practitioner of women's health.
That's amazing. I think that's so exciting. It just your entire story, how you loved what you were doing, but your own experience with perimenopause was the catalyst or is the catalyst for you making this huge career change and doing some really hard things. But at the end of the day, just hearing how lit up you are on this topic, it's invigorating and it's very catching. So tell us as well, though, you're also working on the Pause project.
Yes. So I have a project that I started called the Pause Project. And when I was in school, it actually started as my community health class that I had to take my
Mhm.
community and public health class. We had to do a project that we made a presentation that was a public health issue. And I did mine on menopause. It's called the Pause Project. And I have talks on different specific topics regarding menopause. So there's one on sexual health, which actually is my real jam. That's really what I want to be doing is working with middle-aged women on sexual health.
Mhm.
But so I have one for sexual health. I have one that's general. I have one that's skin. And I have another one on osteoporosis prevention because
Okay.
osteoporosis, I don't know if everybody knows this, but it's the number two killer of women in menopause. And there are things that we can do to prevent it.
I didn't know that, so thanks for sharing that. So that pause project, is there any information or anything that we can provide in the show notes
I
afterwards, or is this still in the
It's still
works?
in the
Yeah.
works, and
Okay.
Jen, who I am at Wink with, she and I
Yep.
are talking about how we can move this to the next level. We are in the works for it. I'm hoping that it will be before the end of the year. Stay tuned.
Okay. Exciting stuff.
Yeah,
I want to take a brief moment just to talk about the transition to going back to school.
sure.
I really appreciated your insight that when you were talking to other people, them commenting about how hard it would be. And I want us to have this conversation just in case there are people that are thinking about going back to school. And not that we want to scare them, but I just think it's really helpful to have that honest perspective of making a big change like that. So, going back to school, tell us again, what was that experience like for you?
So I probably had a lot of confidence that I probably shouldn't have had.
Mm,
Um, I thought I'm smart, I'm experienced, I know a lot. I didn't. I was just like everybody else that was there. Actually, and to be honest with you, I feel like in some ways I had extra to learn because since I had been in school, so much has changed. I'm a very curious woman by nature. So, um,
mhm.
I really wanted to know everything. It wasn't enough for me to just be able to pass the test. I
Yeah,
wanted to know everything. I wanted to know how that worked, why it worked. But you don't have time because it's accelerated, it's fast, and frankly, you just have to learn to pass the test. Also, no time for like discussion or healthy dialogue, things like that. It's just a lot of information. So,
okay.
that was part of it. I did keep my business open. It paid for school. And I now, in essence, didn't really have much of an income. So I went
Mhm.
from someone that earned an income to almost every single thing that I was doing was going to school, was going for school.
Yeah.
And so that was really stressful also. Um,
Mhm.
and the road in school was not easy. It was really hard. I mean, you nursing school is like they say it's the hardest bachelor's degree to get. I
Mhm.
You have to maintain a really high average in school. It's one of the only bachelor's degrees that you are in school, you're in class learning, and at the same time, you're also out doing your clinical residencies. So,
Yeah.
not like you're just doing school and then you get done with that and then you go do all your clinical stuff. No, you're doing it at
Right.
the same time. And sometimes most clinicals are till 11 o'clock at night. It's not like a 9 to 5 thing. You don't get,
Yeah.
and you also don't get like, I mean, they do, you are student nurses, so they don't put you in like the most critical places.
Mhm.
You know, we had to prepare somebody for the morgue one day
Mm,
it's not easy. It's not easy physically, it's not easy mentally.
yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like it was good that my clinicals were in St. Paul sometimes because it took me that long to kind of decompress by the time I got home.
Okay, got it. Were there any times that you had doubts making this transition?
All the time. I wanted to quit so many times. Like
Yeah.
literally wanted to quit so many times. One of my professors, I told her I wanted to quit. I remember crying. I had failed another test. And I was just like, what am I doing? And I told her, I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I have a career that I love. I have a life that I've loved. I don't
Yeah.
need this in my life. And she said, just stick with it. Don't give up. Stick with it. You're going to be a great nurse. Yeah.
If someone else is sitting where you are, what would you tell them if they're considering making a big change and it included a big commitment like you had to make?
Yeah. I would say don't give up.
Mhm.
Keep going. Keep making forward momentum. Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I presume this whole time, though, you still, I mean, this drive to educate others and help others with perimenopause and menopause education, that
Yes.
still what kept you going
Yes.
and prevailing through
Yes.
all of this.
And I know about myself, like, I feel that there's a lot of injustice toward women and in women's health, and I am very, very motivated by injustice. I am so motivated by it, it's a little bit annoying. So I've never been so mono-focused on anything in my entire life, but I think a lot of us can see that things are changing, in this
Mhm.
field, but for our generation, we're on the tail end of it now. Like,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is make sure that, and I don't have children, but the next generation and the generation after that and the generation after that and so on knows their body, knows what's
Yeah.
happening, knows how to ask for help. There will be people there to help them. That is what I am so motivated by.
I love that, Cindy. And on that note, let's do a little bit deeper dive on perimenopause and
Okay,
menopause for the listeners here.
sure.
So, can you explain one of the biggest misconceptions about perimenopause and menopause?
Um, yeah, perimenopause can start um, as early as 35 and sometimes earlier. Perimenopause is not menopause. Perimenopause is your body is starting to experience some fluctuations in hormones. And that can present itself in a multitude of different ways. Most people think it's hot flashes and night sweats, and
Mhm.
but there are joint pain, your teeth crack, your gums recede, your hair falls out, your skin gets dry, you start losing bone density. I had gastroesophageal reflux. I'd never had that
Yeah.
before. You can have gastrointestinal issues. You can get heart palpitations. Your body can mimic signs of a heart attack. Um,
Mhm.
is different for women than men, but
Yeah.
yeah, you can you can experience that. Rage, depression, anxiety is even something like where people are afraid to leave the house. They like um
Oh,
dry mouth, like body odor, like bad
yeah.
breath, like like tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. It is perimenopause, but what is really happening is your hormones are starting to fluctuate. So it's like going
Yeah.
in, it's like puberty in reverse is what is happening.
Mhm.
So, and people can experience that for 10 years, 15 years. Some women don't get their menopause until they're 65. It's a long time period that this
Yeah.
affects women. And that is one of the things that's like, we just like, and when you know, like knowledge is so important. So when you know different things to ask for. Like I didn't
Yeah.
know any of that when I went in. So,
Yeah.
they tested my heart and like and now I think I just could have had some hormones and everything would.
Yeah, exactly. Right, right.
Yeah.
Yes. I just read this awesome article on Forbes talking about the number of women leaving the C-suite
Yes.
because
Yeah.
of perimenopause symptoms.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was saying there can be over 35 different signs and symptoms of, to your point, the hormone fluctuations, perimenopause signs or symptoms. But it's so vast that it's hard to know, is it perimenopause or not? So you're saying perimenopause can last a very long time, up to 10 years.
Yeah.
Then
Or
explain to
longer.
us, okay, and then explain to us how long menopause lasts.
So menopause is one day. Menopause is the day that like the 12 months and one day that it's been after your last menstrual period. So
Okay.
menopause is just one day. Everything else is perimenopause, and then after that is postmenopause.
Okay. Then typically after menopause, is that when all the symptoms go away?
No, God, no. You could
No. Oh,
no, no. Yeah, that's where I say like up to 65. You can have them.
okay.
You can experience them for a long, long time. Women's health is finally starting to get some recognition. Back at the beginning of 2024, the Biden administration pledged a significant amount of money to go toward researching women's health. They didn't even test tampons and pads on menstrual blood. So
Hmm.
until recently, like
Hmm.
within the last year and a half, like that's when they started doing it. So
Okay. Okay.
we were not included in anything. So that's where that kind of started with that. And so
Yeah.
which is why we know a little bit more now and people are talking about it. And then Kelly Casperson also was one of the team of doctors that sat in front of the FDA to have the black box warnings taken off the hormones because they had all these black box warnings and that said that it caused cancer and all
Yep.
these things that it doesn't do. And the FDA is taking it off. They're removing the black box warning because we know so much. And now we don't learn anything
Hmm.
about menopause in school. We don't learn it in nursing
Yep.
school. There's very little of it that goes into the medical school programs. They don't really cover it at all. And so Melinda Gates just a couple of weeks ago pledged $250
Hmm.
million. And a big part of that was to go toward changing curriculum in med school and nursing school and all these healthcare professions to include menopause care. And she's working with
Wow.
Menopause Society to do that. That's where she gave a lot of money was to the Menopause Society to help create the protocols that are going to go into place in curriculum. So
Okay.
till now, anybody that is working in menopause has gone and found the information themselves. Society has a certification course that I have just started. So
Hmm.
you can be a certified menopause specialist, but you had to go and do it on your own because no one was teaching it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then to your point, though, when you're showing up with those signs and symptoms from your own experience, when you're being told, oh, it's too late for you, well, that's because, yeah, the physicians weren't
She
educated to
didn't know.
know.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
know. And it's such a thing because my first thought was to be really angry about it. And
Yeah.
then over time, I realized she just didn't know. She had no idea. She also was in her
Yeah.
30s. She was young, but it wasn't her fault. You can't know everything. Nobody can know everything. And I think smart people know that they don't know everything. She did start, like, learning more, like, the next time I came in to see her, she knew a little bit more about menopause, which I was grateful for. I don't see her anymore just because not because I think she's a bad doctor, she just was not the doctor for me, and that is a piece of advice I would give to any woman. Just it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your physician that you're seeing or your healthcare provider, but you need to find someone that works for you, and
Yes. Yes, be your own self advocate. And after my own experience spending 20 years in healthcare and talking to physicians all over the US in all different type of specialties, I used to tell my in-laws that whatever their doctor says, they're going to follow to the T. And I always tell them someone graduated from med school last. Like you cannot
yes.
just blindly take that advice. So you need to be your own advocate. What are the treatment options available for women that are going through perimenopause or have different perimenopause symptoms?
So there's several different types of estrogens. You could take systemic estrogen, which is an oral estrogen tablet, or you can do a patch.
Mhm.
You change a couple times a week. You can do a gel, a topical gel. Those are the three most common ones. And then progesterone, if you have a uterus, they recommend that you take progesterone also. Progesterone just to be taken at night. It helps you sleep, which is
Yes.
wondrous. Um, and then those are for vasomotor symptoms, which are everything except for what is going on with the vagina. So there is a vaginal estrogen cream for genital urinary symptoms of menopause. And the couple things that are pretty big for people are vaginal dryness, pain with sex, and
Hmm.
recurrent UTIs. And I have
Okay.
also I should say really quickly, I didn't say this, and this is also a really important detail. During
Yeah.
perimenopause, your periods go bananas. So you could have a totally normal period and you're going about your life and everything's fine because you know you're not going to start your period again for another month. And then 2 weeks later, or even a week later,
Yes.
you start having the worst period of your life. You think
Hmm.
wrong with you. Like I have seen people come into Planned Parenthood that think that they like stuff is falling out. They think they're
Yeah.
hemorrhaging, and then that'll happen, and that might be for 2 weeks, and then
Hmm.
you won't have a period for I don't know a couple months, and then all of a sudden you'll have like a normal period again, and then you'll have just spotting, the next
Yeah.
like that can go on for years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
years. And I don't want to say it's always menopause, some people grades, there could be other things, you do have to rule out infection as well, but it is awful. And nobody told me that. So I,
Yeah.
I was like, and I joke now, I'm like, oh, like, here's another fun thing that happened. Occasionally, I didn't know this is menopause, but I would joke and say, well, occasionally I just choke on my own spit. And it's like, that is also a perimenopause symptom.
A real thing. Wow. Wow, I didn't know that either, and I
Yeah.
think last time we talked about frozen shoulder, I just
Oh,
read
yeah,
an
frozen
article, but
shoulder,
that's
yes.
tied to it as well, yes. Okay, so I'm on hormone replacement therapy,
Mhm.
and you talked about progesterone to help with sleep. That was my main symptom,
Yeah.
and it's a game changer for me. So my question, I'll stay on the progesterone until, like, menopause, the 12 months and a day that I don't have my period, but will that delay menopause for me if I'm on those hormones? Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, it'll just make your symptoms less. Menopause is happening because your ovaries aren't pushing out eggs anymore. Your ovaries are like, I am done here. Like, I am
Mhm.
done. We're not doing anything else. I'm gonna get my margarita and I'm gonna go to the beach and I'm never I'm not doing any more work. And your brain is like yelling at it, no, we're not done here. We're not done here. And eventually, like, to me, it's like your brain nags your ovaries long enough that your ovaries are like, fine, and it'll shoot something out. And then you have this great
Okay.
experience. The way that I think of that, that will still be happening. Your symptoms are going to be less. So I am about to be 57 and I'm still taking everything. I've transitioned off the original patch that I was using to go to a topical estrogen gel. And then
Mhm.
I moved off of that to go back to just a plain estrogen patch. But now estrogen patch is back ordered throughout the country until like next year sometime. So
Mm.
people can still get them. It's not as easy to get them, it's complicated. We do a lot of gender affirming care at Planned Parenthood also. And there are people that use
Mhm.
estrogen patches for feminizing hormones, and
Yep.
they can still get them, but it's a much, much, much higher dose. And so my doctor and I have talked about, well, maybe like I could do something like that and like cut it in half or whatever.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't want to do that, so I do the gel. I also
Okay.
use vaginal estrogen cream, so that's a totally, completely different thing. I'm reading things that like your ovaries start serving a different function as we get older, and so I'm assuming that somewhere around like after you're 65, because that's when a lot of things change in our bodies. That's when they call us geriatric. I mean, it's really because you're like everything has shifted again. Um,
Oh, lovely. So we're called geriatric. I was called first time I was called geriatric was 35 when I was pregnant. So so I get to be called that
yeah,
again in
yes,
65. Yes,
yes.
lovely.
And there are actually clinics that have opened, standalone clinics called Her Self Help, and they opened to work with women over 65.
Mm.
So specifically in that population group and specifically women, because we are not just smaller versions of men, our makeup is very different. And so they started doing that, and they are also starting to bring their age down because I think they're going to start adding menopause care as well.
Yep, yep. And then just to clarify, when you were mentioning the clinical evidence and some of the black box warnings that are
Yeah.
going
Okay.
away, first we should make a disclaimer that you are an RN, you're getting
Yes.
your nurse
Yes.
practitioner degree, that
Yes.
anyone listening, if they are interested in getting any hormone replacement therapy, they should find a provider and
Yes.
speak to that
Yes.
specific provider. I would love to link that website, the Menopause Society, where you
Yeah.
enter the zip code
Yeah.
and find
Great.
a provider that
Yep.
is educated
Yep.
on perimenopause and menopause. But let's just talk really briefly about what hormone replacement therapy medications were the black box warnings taken off of.
Estrogen, progesterone.
Okay, okay. So it's safe for majority of
Yeah.
women.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. One of the things that you had mentioned to me in our prep meeting about why it takes so long for providers to be educated is that it takes at least 13 years for new evidence to make it into the medical curriculum.
Yeah, I think it's like 7 to 13 years
7 to
before.
13?
Yeah, this is the way that I look at it. So if
Mhm.
it takes that long to get into curriculum, then you've got to retrain all the people that are educating you. So they have to learn a new way as well.
Yeah, yeah, and then from there, though, do you see now, like, when you mentioned that Menopause Society, like, are you slowly starting to see more providers
Oh
being
my gosh,
more
there's
aware and
so
educated?
many providers
Okay.
in the Twin
Yeah,
Cities. Like there are pages and pages and pages of them in the Twin
that's
Cities.
awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you see this field eventually heading, though?
To me, everything starts in the brain. So I think
Mhm,
that we should be having interdisciplinary teams that work with urogynecology, neurology, endocrinology, because it really does affect everything. It starts in the brain. I hope that we see that one day. I don't know that I'll be alive for it. Maybe I will be. Maybe I'll be one of the people that helps pioneer that to happen. I hope that one day we start to see this as not a reproductive problem.
mhm, yeah. Thank you for sharing that perspective on that. If anyone is listening right now and this topic resonates with them, or even if they're hearing some of the symptoms that maybe they identify with, any recommendations on what they should do next or where they can go next to
Yeah.
investigate further?
Yeah. So the Menopause Society, also that menopause.org, has a
Mhm,
tremendous amount of information for the public also. So it has a lot of things for providers if you have a membership with them. But there's a lot of information out there just for general knowledge for the public. I believe that knowledge is power. The more you
mhm,
know, the better it is for you. And it is out there. It is so much of it is out there. There is also I don't even know how many books are written now about it.
mhm.
I know I mentioned Kelly Casperson's book. I know a lot of people have heard of Mary Claire Haver.
Yep.
Um, there is someone else that I just love that I also was reading her books before menopause was a thing, but Dr. Lisa Mosconi, she has written a book called Brain Food. That was the first one I read, and it was about how nutrition works with the brain. And then
Mhm,
she wrote another book called The XX Brain, which is specifically for women's brains, and she
mhm,
about menopause in that. And now she has a book out called The Menopause Brain. And then Dr. Vonda
mhm,
Wright, she's an orthopedic surgeon. She has one on the importance of exercise and weightlifting for bone health, for
mhm,
osteoporosis prevention. Oh my gosh, there's so many great people out there. There's also a book a lot of people read called The Menopause Manifesto, and she's
mm,
got a little different perspective than some of the other gals who they call themselves the Menopause. So, like Kelly Casper,
mhm,
Mary Claire Haver, Dr. Rachel Bruven is in it. There's a lot of people in that. They all have really great information available on Instagram, but they are all part of the Menopause Society as well. So everything they're
okay,
doing is coming from that.
okay. I really like the menopause.
Yes.
I will list all your recommendations.
Okay.
I'll make sure that it's available in the show notes. All right. Well, thank you for all of that insight.
You're welcome.
And if listeners like this conversation, I would love to invite Cindy back on at a later time just to have a really deep dive into perimenopause and menopause and just even the osteoporosis bone health that you were talking about as well. So listeners, provide the feedback. If you like this, want more of it, let me know and we'll make it happen. All right, so transitioning to practical considerations, let's talk about what you already had walking into nursing versus what you had to acquire from scratch.
So the greatest skill that I had is I know how to connect with people. That is a skill that's hard to teach and it comes with time. And I'm really good at it. That is like,
Mhm,
it's weird for me to even say that like out loud, but I'm really good at it. I think that feeling valued is the greatest human need that we have. And
mhm,
I like to find a way to make people feel valued. So that has been really, really helpful for me. And the nursing skills are, they're hard. It's hard to pick things out. It's also hard to like, you've been doing something one way your whole life and you have to do it differently
yeah,
now. The language, and I'm good with the computer, but like, I don't like sitting in front of a computer all day. And believe it or not,
yeah,
We do a lot of that as nurses. There's a lot
Okay.
of charting that's happening on
Yeah.
on the computer. And like I said, I'm a curious woman by nature, so I want to know all the things, and there's not time for it in
Yeah.
health, which is unfortunate. I think the biggest thing that I brought into it is I know how to connect with people.
Yes, and that's a skill that you can't be taught in a classroom. And on that line, is there something else that the RN classroom training didn't prepare you for that you had to learn on your own?
Yeah, blood draws.
Oh, yikes.
Because that's a phlebotomist,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't teach it anymore in nursing school, and places like Planned Parenthood, nurses are responsible for it.
Oh, yikes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. How did you find the balance between being an RN, working at Planned Parenthood, and still working as an esthetician?
I get my schedule supposed to be 6 weeks in advance at Planned Parenthood, and so I share space with another esthetician, and when I get my schedule, I text Katie and I give her all the dates that I'm working, and we both pivot. If I have clients booked,
Okay.
I get them rescheduled on to the dates that I'm there. Yeah. I mean, it's work.
Transitioning into some financial considerations. This show is all about following your head and your heart with a career change, but it's also being a level headed adult who has to pay the bills, and both can be true or have to be true. What financial considerations did you and your husband have to work through to move forward with you going back to school?
Well, like I said, my business paid for school, but it also
Mhm.
didn't really bring me in an income for 3.5 years. Brought me some, but not a lot. Nick wants to retire. He has worked really hard his whole life. And part of the agreement that we had was when I was done, he could start to make plans to kind of sunset his career. And then I would just kind of take over the reins. I would be the main earner in the household and also benefits. I will work as long as I can because I love working,
Okay.
but that is not how he feels. So one of us has to make benefits. He has a big job at
Mhm.
a huge company, and we have had great benefits through them, and we're not willing to sacrifice that. So I have a combined income. I do not make very much money at Planned Parenthood. Women's health typically gets reimbursed at about 40% of what a male health would be. For instance, like a biopsy on a penis is reimbursed at 40% higher than a biopsy on a vagina. So,
What?
we're starting with that because it's women's health, and then it's also a nonprofit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it has lost federal funding. So we don't make very much money. People are working at Planned Parenthood for the mission. They're not there for the money,
Mhm.
which I think is a really tremendous testament to the people that work there. I make significantly less money at this nursing job. I make up some of the difference by my skincare practice, but it's not the same.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, you cover the health
Yeah.
insurance at Planned Parenthood. Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I broke off and did my own. I went to the Planned Parenthood offered benefits. So I got off of Nix because it was going to save us some money to do it that way. So we figured that into our overall income and how we can make this work and starting to streamline and lean out a little bit.
Yeah, yes. Any other trade-offs that you didn't expect?
My gosh, yes, the freedom and
Yes.
flexibility and autonomy. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really weird. It is so weird to clock in every day, every single day when I get my 30-minute break for lunch, which also is super weird because, I could take whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
I could go have sushi with a girlfriend and be gone for an hour and a
Yeah.
half if I wanted to. Almost every day I get up to go take my half-hour lunch to eat my break to eat my lunch, and I almost always turn around and go, "God dang it, I forgot to clock out again." Every time. It happens every time. And then having to be somewhere. I have that anyway because when you work for yourself, you work for your clients, really. I mean,
Yeah.
you're controlling the strings basically, but But
Hmm.
you really work for your clients, but you also can,
Yeah.
like, set your own time, and if you wanna
Yeah.
go on vacation, you can go on vacation. My family's in Northern California, so,
Hmm.
I was out in Northern California quite often. In fact, the last couple of years of my mom's life, I was out there every 6 to 8 weeks. Like, I was out there all the time. Um,
Yeah.
well, until COVID happened, and then, of course, that changed
Hmm.
things a little bit, and then as soon as we could travel again, I was traveling again out there, but, yeah, I don't have that. I have, like, I'm watching this little, like, teeny
Time.
tiny amount of PTO rack up.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Just like yeah, yeah. And then I was sick last week, and I had to take a day of PTO, and I'm like, "Dang it." Like, 'cause I barely
Oh,
have any. I barely have enough
yeah,
time.
that you want to save up for something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Giving up freedom and flexibility and autonomy is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a really big
So,
deal.
so what keeps you going then?
'Cause
What keeps you going on this path?
I want to be part of the change. That is what
Okay.
I am super mo I know I said I am motivated by injustice. I
Hmm.
still see it, and I want to be part of the solution. I can't even begin to describe it in any other way. I'm here to fight for women and to fight for the women of the future to make sure
Yeah.
that it's better for them.
Well, you are definitely on headed down that path. So I have to ask you, Cindy, how do you feel now with everything that you've accomplished and knowing exactly where you're headed next?
I feel like there's a lot of work to do. I feel good about the stuff that I have done. I love the mission and the work that we do at Planned Parenthood. I
Yeah.
do want to work with a higher acuity situation and a little bit more complex medical problems, and I want to use more of my clinical judgment.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means for me at Planned Parenthood. I know I'm pretty sure that I'm ready to transition to get to know a little bit more about the deeper parts of nursing. So when I am
Hmm.
a nurse practitioner and someone who is 48 years old and is sitting in front of me, I can understand it because I've seen it.
Yes, that's amazing. I want to share with the audience, with the listeners, that in our prep meeting, you were telling me that you've done Clifton Strengths based off of a different
Forgot about
episode that
that.
you listened to, Carrie Febreze, yes,
Yeah.
and that you mentioned that your strength is activator, and I just keep thinking that everything that I hear, like your strength is activator through and through with just what you've accomplished and where you want to go next. So I definitely
Yeah.
see you making the plan, executing the plan, but with that though, you're also making it better for everybody else that's along around you for their journey as well. So the world needs more people like you, Cindy.
Thank
Like,
you.
you're amazing. All right, transition gears to our rapid round, because we are not just all career women or studying constantly 24 hours of the day. So just real quick questions about life. You ready?
Yes.
All right. So do you and Nick have a go-to entertaining meal or recipe?
Um, Nick and I love tacos, and
Mm.
I say that, and as I'm saying that, I love tacos. So I'm not sure if Nick just Nick just like humors me with it, but I would almost rather have tacos than anything else.
Okay, so I'm so curious to know, as an esthetician, what is your skincare routine?
My gosh. So I am not kidding when I say that I have at least 30 different products. I say this knowing that that is unrealistic and unreasonable for most people to do.
Hmm.
But I have things that vary because of whatever my skin needs that day. That is
Okay.
my specialty also as an esthetician. I never, ever, 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 ever don't wash my face at night. Never.
Okay.
Not a night goes by. And when I was younger and I used to be out and about and drinking a lot more than I used to, and I was single and I was out living it up, even if I fell asleep without washing my face, I would wake up at some point, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and get up and wash my face. and then go back to sleep. So I never miss that. My one other hormone that I do use is I have an estrogen cream for the face that I get from a company online called Alloy. It's myalloy.com. There are other companies that do it. I happen to love them. And it's a prescription. You have to do a telehealth appointment. And I have used that for probably 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. A lot of my clients use it also, but everything else varies.
Okay.
Everything.
I'm very curious by the estrogen cream. So
Yeah.
we may
Yeah.
have to, we'll include that in the next conversation as well. So, okay. Is there a mantra or a motto that you live by?
Yeah. I like to remember you are never too old, period. You're never too old to start again. We're just never too old. If we are alive, we should be living.
Yes, I completely agree. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Do you have any non-negotiables
Yes.
for your wellness?
Yes. One thing, I talk to my dad every single day. My dad's 81. He lives in California. I talk to him every single morning, usually in between 6 and 6:30 his time. Sometimes it's just a quick conversation and sometimes it's longer. We both also bird watch. So sometimes we're talking about birds, or we're both watching World Cup right now. So we're talking about that. I'm Portuguese on his side. So we've been watching Portugal. So it's fun. I talk to him every day. Also, sunscreen every single day without fail, every day. No exceptions. Even if you don't think you're going to be outside, I don't care. You should have sunscreen on. So I do not miss a day of sunscreen. And then my last thing is I'm a streaker, which is not what people think. It's a run streak.
I know. What's that?
I am a run streaker, which means I run at least a mile every single day. So today was my 498th day in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. It's great. And sometimes it's a mile. Sometimes it's like today was 6. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. Yeah. Very cool. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for this conversation.
You're welcome.
Again, what I love about your story is that you weren't leaving something intentionally. You loved what you were doing, but you were driven by this vision and a purpose to make it better for other people around you after your experience with perimenopause. And I just think it is so amazing to hear a story with so much passion and conviction. It's very inspiring. So thank you for sharing your journey and sharing your story. If listeners want to find you, where can they go? How can they find you?
I have a really horrible website. It's my first and last name.com. So it's cindyravn.com. So CINDYRAVN.com. You could also come on Instagram. It's just my name. People message me on there. On Facebook, my business name is Cindy Ravn Skin and Health. So it's Cindy Ravn Skin and Health on Facebook.
Sounds good. We'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes.
I would love to help people. I want to help people. That is, I want to help women. And if someone needs help and I can help them, I want to help. So I hope that when people hear this and they think, maybe she could help me, please, I would love to hear from people.
Yes.
I want to help.
Sounds good. And we can't wait to be cheering you on as you start nurse practitioner school this fall. And I think we will all be anxiously waiting for your graduation. And as soon as you're seeing even more patients, we'll be lined up.
We'll really be off to the races.
Exactly. Yes. Well, thanks again, Cindy. Really appreciate this conversation.
Again, Molly. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on here. It was really lovely.
And to our listeners, if this episode resonated with you, subscribe on your preferred streaming platform so you never miss another conversation, and share this with one woman who needs to hear it. Every subscribe and every share helps the algorithm get this show in front of more people asking the same questions that we are. And that's how we grow this community together. And remember to explore on your own terms, because nothing changes if nothing changes.